This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis. Talking the stories that are shaping headlines, plus those that make you go,
Hello, welcome back on to the Morning Majlis. This is Rania Saadi with Abdul Karim Hanif and Ahmed Dawood. And this hour we have so much to discuss as well because this is an exciting time for Sharjah. So much is happening. Attending and organizing social events in hotels and homes are thankfully resuming starting November 1st here in Sharjah. But of course, not to forget, we must follow certain guidelines and precautionary measures to ensure the safety of everyone, of course. And November 4th, a couple of days afterwards, is an important day, not just for Sharjah, but also for the UAE as a whole, as it is the opening day for the Sharjah International Book Fair. It is going to be a hybrid event. It's coming in its 39th edition. And literature enthusiasts and book lovers across the UAE can look forward to meeting more than 100 Arab and foreign authors who will sign their works for fans at the special book signing corner set up at the book fair. So we're going to talk about that more closely as well. But more exciting things happening this hour is in an interview that we will be having in a couple of minutes.
Yes, that's true. And as we talked about earlier, in terms of things that you don't need when you buy too much, or let's say you are planning to downsize your current residential space and want to maybe take it easy for a year, save up, and then move to a bigger place again, and you want to store your excess luggage or excess furniture somewhere, storage could be a potential option as opposed to selling it off and then maybe looking to rebuy things in a year's time. A lot of freelancers as well have decided to go back home because obviously the work is limited at the moment and they think, oh, I've got too much of broadcast equipment, too much of technical equipment, and I don't know what to do with it. So they end up selling it or paying a lot of taxes when they take that equipment back home. So storage could also be a potential idea. You never know. So alternative, yeah. So we'll be talking about that in greater detail because we've got one of the partners of Storage Keys based here in Sharjah to talk to us about this industry specifically and what's happening with the world of storage, and lots more to discuss on the show as well.
Indeed, we're gearing up for the Sharjah International Book Fair starting on November 4th, and we've got more details to unveil, just what's going to happen to everybody's book signings. That's an event that people typically look forward to as part of every Sharjah International Book Fair. But this book fair is quite different, and we'll talk about how that is set to go. We're also going to talk about the latest news in entertainment. New Marvel superhero is going to join the fray, and a lot of interesting details there. We'll talk about the actor, the superhero, and the director behind it all. So it should be really interesting stuff. As always, text us throughout the program at 4215, and stay tuned to Pulse 95.
This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis.
Hello, good morning, and welcome back onto the Morning Majlis. We are asking you if you have any COVID-19 spending regrets, from gym equipment to ovens, home office supplies. Consumers shopped online throughout the pandemic, and a lot of people have been trying to alleviate anxiety and boredom. I remember the start of the pandemic, or start of the National Disinfection Program. People went crazy.
Yeah,
they said, overstocking.
Yep.
Gym buffs who were thinking, oh my God, I can't live without gym, went over to all the different stores, and gym equipment was sold out in most of the stores.
Well, let's just say that for sure, COVID-19, this pandemic will likely be one of the most defining events of our lives, literally. Yeah. It had so much implications. But one of the responses we've seen is how people were approaching this period. For example, when we were isolated or quarantined, lockdown, and so much uncertainty was going on, and you talked about bulk buying. I feel like shopping behavior in particular kind of went through two different phases. The first one, and we all remember that probably, when we went out to buy all the medical supplies like hand sanitizers, masks, household essentials, toilet paper, bread, all of that, and we were so scared. right? And I remember so many things were not on the shelves anymore. They were all sold out
Face
so quickly.
masks.
Face masks and sanitizers. And
I
so many
paid
things.
80 dirhams for a box of 50.
Oh, no
I
way.
remember the prices
80
as well.
dirhams. It
Yeah.
went up to 120. First time when this happened, everyone's trying to buy face masks.
Yeah,
Popular retail or supermarket,
yeah.
the French one, 120 for a box of 100
So ridiculous, yeah.
Yeah.
face masks.
Yeah.
So overpriced. That was the first phase. I feel
Uh-huh.
the second phase was what I'm calling the retail therapy. You're sitting
Yeah.
at home and basically there's nothing much to do.
Can't
you
go to
don't
the malls,
you
yeah.
can't you can go out to malls and everything is online now, and for your own safety, and whether it was imposed or whether for your own safety or your own preference you don't want to go out anymore. So everything is better off to be bought or reached online. And another thing is, retail therapy. Everybody's saying, you know what, I'm stuck at home with this pandemic going on. What am I going to do? They browse online and they start shopping away. I'm one of those people. I use it as a therapy, literally.
Yeah.
I bought things I did not need. And there's this other side, you know, with the uncertainty, as I mentioned earlier, about the pandemic. So many people, they give you advice, don't buy anything. You know, things are not going well, let's say financially or economically in the world. Save your money. And another part of you says, but I need this therapy. What am I going to do? Right? So there's two sides to the coin.
Yeah, two sides to the coin. For me, it was impulse buying on eating out. So if you,
Yeah.
I got a latte here, I get this over there, I got a cake right here. It adds up, I think, over the day when you're driving around all the time. Long commute, get to work here. So on the way, there are a lot of temptations that you need to stay away from, for sure.
True. I think there's a lot of thought as well, because a lot of people, everyone has a mental budget.
Yeah.
You know, if they're not good at physical budgets like balance sheets, if they're not very, techie in that way, they always have a mental budget. And they think, okay, because of the pandemic, these things were shut, these shops were shut, this was shut, I couldn't travel. So I'm going to use that or reallocate the budget of that towards something else. And you make that purchase. So you sort of justify it to yourself. Then you realize you didn't really need to make that purchase.
Yeah.
And this is where the regret buying is. I think buying all that gym equipment might have been, but like for during the pandemic, for my birthday, my brother bought me a boxing bag. I would think it was great. I
But
needed it.
you kind of
I
utilize
utilized
it.
it.
Yeah,
you
used it.
I utilized it well when
you
I
did.
was in a home
especially in quarantine.
in my quarantine,
Yeah.
and because of my COVID-19
Yeah.
situation, I had to. I made good use of it, but I don't really need it because it's at the moment, whilst I'm sat here, it is out there in the sun, sunbathing. You know. And then I'll go home and probably use it, and then I'll go to my own gym because it's more of a social environment, and I prefer doing it there as opposed to doing it just at home, because then I look like an angry neighbor, right? And then it's something. Those sort of things, it makes you realize, I didn't really need it. However, when people buy equipment which is related to their work, for example, I bought myself a camera during the pandemic. I don't feel too bad about it,
Yeah.
but I do feel bad about it because I used a large chunk of money to buy it. But I view it as an investment down the line because I'm still using it. And we had to use our own computers, and we had to use editing softwares whilst we were producing and broadcasting from homes. We needed that powerful connection and powerful supplies in our own computers. So those sort of things were okay. However, maybe the retail therapy, maybe not needed. Maybe.
Yeah.
Depends.
It's not just that, it's the fact that during especially the lockdowns, let's just say the worldwide lockdowns, there were so many offers.
Yeah, that's the worst
many
thing, yeah.
attractive offers online. And I'm just, this thing in the back of my head saying, you know what, you need to utilize this, you need to take advantage of this offer. Maybe later on prices will go up in general. So, rush to it. Get what you can, buy what you can, stock up, even on not just food, like for example, for myself as a woman, cosmetics, clothes, whatever. So I'm trying to stock up on everything since there are so many good offers around. But then later on, you're thinking, I mean, what good did it give me?
Yeah. True that, yeah. And the other thing too is the fact that no matter how much money you make, you're always tempted to spend above your means.
Yes.
Because money is so tied to status. I mean, your objects, the things you buy, they're tied to your status.
Yeah.
To have the new iPhones coming out or a new cars going in, it's so tempting to just grab it.
It's true.
And I think during the pandemic, it's got me rethinking that mode of thinking, especially with the new iPhone coming out. I'm so tempted to buy it, but I'm like, should I really do it? It's going to be obsolete in a couple months. They might come up with a new iPhone. The price will go down. Do I really need to get it now? But yeah, it's something that I think all of us struggle with deep down.
I think I do need a phone. My phone.
You need it. You need it.
I need it because my phone is on a ventilator, supported by the other phone that is powering it, sending it 4G or wherever. So yeah, it kind of needs some support.
You need it,
Yeah, it makes sense. But let us know on the text lines 4215. What are you feeling guilty of, or do you think you've spent? Did you need to buy things that you bought over the pandemic? Do you regret it, or do you think it was a good investment worth making?
And I'll leave you with a nice quote by one of my favorite personalities in the world, Warren Buffett, on spending. He says, if you buy things you do not need, soon you will have to sell things you need.
Oh, there we go.
That's something to ponder on.
Big gulp. Take a big gulp. Right. Stay
I'll
with us.
try to learn from that as well.
Yeah, stay with us on the Morning Majlis. Plenty to get through. Send us your thoughts and messages on 4215.
Pulse 95. Between local lines. Notes from the Emirates.
Welcome back to the show. Text us at 4215. Make your voice heard here on the Majlis. And it's the time of the year where the weather's getting better. It's nice and breezy out there, and a lot of people are taking to the deserts to enjoy their camping, their barbecues, their hangouts. And in line with that, Sharjah Police has expressed its readiness to ensure people's safety and security during this time. And that's because it's a time where a lot of people sometimes have too much fun out there.
Yes, and this is where things go wrong. You think you're having a cracking a time, and I went into one of the populous camping stores in Sharjah yesterday, and I saw a lot of people going out and about, and they obviously had offers for this time of the month, and they targeted when people have their salaries, receive their salaries, and they start doing it. So it was great, and I just saw how enthusiastic the people were of getting their equipment, getting lighting, getting pressure cookers as well, buying those barbecue grills. It just goes to show that people are now getting ready to go into the desert and camp and relax. Great. But it all comes with responsibility. It comes with responsibility because of biodiversity, let's say. You know, the desert actually also belongs to other people who call it permanent home, you know, animals, insects, or whatever. And then when you're down there, you cause a bit of rubbish and leave your rubbish behind. It is dangerous for those animals. Another aspect that I would like to talk about is I went to Sheath Park the other day with Gabby, our videographer, and we saw how beautiful that park is. It's incredible. But then at the back of our minds, it was how well are the people going to treat it?
Yeah.
Are they going to run around, damage the grass? Are they going to run around, have picnics or have barbecues in the areas that they're not supposed to have? Are they going to leave a lot of rubbish behind? That was the biggest concern because everything is so amazing, especially the nature here in the United Arab Emirates, particularly in the Emirate of Sharjah, because we have more mountainous terrain here in this emirate as well. So it just is that we urge the public to respect their surroundings and not leave the rubbish behind. A single little wrapper, like a chocolate bar, or tissue paper, or anything that you leave behind is ruining the space aesthetically, and is also causing a bit of danger to others.
Indeed, what you're saying is very important because Sharjah Police has deployed patrols covering the desert camping areas and has introduced new security measures that target reckless behaviors of cars and motorcycles and the drivers. And they also as per the directives of His Highness Sheikh Dr. Sultan bin Mohammed Al Qasimi, Supreme Council member and the ruler of Sharjah, is to preserve the environment and provide a peaceful atmosphere for the visitors of the desert camping sites. So in line with that, if they find anybody not following the rules, the patrols would impound any violating vehicles and enforce fines on people who violate those rules. not really take care of those desert camping sites.
Yeah, and Sharjah police have also been talking about the fact that a lot of people sometimes, when in these sites, they play a lot of loud music sometimes, and described it as ear-shattering. So that's another thing that people should avoid, because it creates a disturbance to the area as a whole. Also, quad bikes. Quad bikes, we've seen a rise in quad bike accidents from people camping out in the desert and driving recklessly with those vehicles. So Sharjah police will be looking out for any violators going to unauthorized sites, sites that were not meant to be camping sites, and either recklessly driving or using quad bikes or playing loud music. Those are things that Sharjah police has urged the public not to do so, and it's for their safety because we've seen a rise in accidents with those vehicles.
Yep, of course, and it's we have to look at our own safety really and prioritize that as well, and the safety of others, and especially when you look at the desert, think about the desert. Everyone wants a bit of peace and quiet when they want to go outdoors. You're going to ruin it for others if you're going to bring your ATVs and quad bikes and speed it around, trying to impress your other fellow campers. Take it easy.
Yeah,
it is 12th Rabiul Awwal after all. Just relax and take it easy. Be a nice citizen and respect the holy occasion, and also make sure that if you are celebrating a long weekend, make sure that you are celebrating in a way that you're keeping the others happy as well. Well, stay with us on the Morning Majlis. Up next, we're going to be talking about storage facilities, because we just talked about how a lot of people had bought the gym equipment that they probably didn't need. But now that the gyms are open again, they're thinking, what do I do with this stuff? Can you put it in storage? How about that? That could be a good option.
I bought an elliptical machine. I bought it maybe in March.
Mm-hmm.
I only used it 5 times.
Storage.
Yeah.
Put in storage.
All right.
I can do that.
Let's see how that's going to work.
Well, stay with us on the Morning Majlis. That's going to be up next, right after the news headlines.
Pulse 95.
The Morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
Yes, this is Pulse 95. This is a very important conversation, COVID-related for sure, and it's really matters to everyone. A newly released research is suggesting that levels of antibodies against the coronavirus have declined across the UK population since testing began. So, having randomly sampled about 365,000 people across the country, the REACT-2 study, which is yet to be peer-reviewed, it estimates 6% of the UK population had antibodies against the virus in late June, but that this had fallen to 4.4 by the month of September. Now, if antibodies fade over time, how worried should we be? Does this mean we cannot be immune to COVID-19? To answer this question, we need to first understand what antibodies are and what they can tell us about our immunity. Now, when we are infected, our immune system quickly responds to try and contain the threat and minimize the damage infection causes. And this initial stage of immune reactivity is covered by immune cells. They're called innate cells, and they're resident in our tissues, which use a range of fairly generic strategies to both recognize and kill off that infection. But to truly deal with an infectious challenge, we need another part of our immune system. They're called our lymphocytes. And the lymphocytes are more flexible cells that are educated to kind of recognize and target a specific infectious agent. And they come into 2 main varieties: B lymphocytes, which make antibodies, and T lymphocytes, which can help the B cells response or directly kill the germs. So crucially, T and B lymphocytes work together to eradicate an infection, basically.
So could we say they're like the T cells?
Yeah.
They're the same. So they apparently, as per what we do understand, is they also play a role directly killing infected host cells and calling to other immune cells to help out. Researchers from
They're called memory cells.
Oh.
Yeah, both of them.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the researchers say that the antibodies tend to be highly predictive of who is protected. And they say we can see the antibodies and we can see them declining, and we know antibodies in their own are quite protective. On the balance of evidence, the professor says it would look as if immunity declines away at the same time as antibodies decline away, and that this is an indication of waning immunity. There are 4 other human coronaviruses which we can catch multiple times in our lives. They cause common cold symptoms, and we can be reinfected every 6 to 12 months. Many people have mild or asymptomatic coronavirus infections. So I had a COVID-19 infection.
Yes.
And I thank my frontline heroes, medical personnel, of course, but then the antibodies of my own body. They were my frontline heroes. They deserved a cookie after I celebrated my victory over the COVID-19. I thought that I've got a vaccine, a free vaccine developed by my own body. But apparently, according to this report, I'm still, still need to be vigilant. Is it true? Guy needs to be worried?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely.
According to the study, yes.
According to this study, and it's an antibody test that more than 350,000 people in England have taken. And in the first round of testing, about 1,000 people had detectable antibodies. But over a few months, those antibodies had declined quite significantly. In fact, with only 3 months after the first round of tests were conducted, there was a 26% decline in their antibodies. Now, the number of antibodies you have in your body depends on your exposure to the coronavirus. So say you're a frontline hero, you're a healthcare worker, you're routinely exposed to those who have COVID-19, then your antibody count will be relatively higher due to higher exposure of the coronavirus. And antibodies stick to the surface of the coronavirus to stop it from invading our body cells and attacking the rest of our immune system. And according to a professor that's part of the study, they said, quote, "We can see the antibodies and we can see them declining. And we know antibodies on their own are quite protective. On the balance of evidence, I would say it would look as if immunity declines away at the same rate as antibodies decline away, and that this is an indication of waning immunity." So long story short, yes, your immunity will decline over time.
But I mean, such findings do emphasize the need to look at diverse groups of people in general to kind of fully understand if immunity to COVID-19 is possible, particularly when developing vaccines. This is exactly what is being assessed in the phase 3 vaccine trials happening right now. Right now, we shouldn't be overly worried. COVID-19 is still a giant puzzle. We are gradually unlocking. Scientists are still not certain 100% about the mechanism of this virus till now, and they're discovering new things every single day and unlocking it. So every piece of the puzzle we master kind of contributes to our growing knowledge and ability to beat this infection. So let's not be worried for now, but just keep it in the back of our heads.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is important data because it's got pretty big implications on policies enacted by countries, particularly those who are looking at herd immunity as the answer to this. Herd immunity is something that occurs when enough people in a population are immune to a disease. And typically this happens when there's an infection, you let it take place, people become naturally immune, and the rate of infection declines. But because we're looking at this immunity declining over time in such a short period of time as well, just a couple months, epidemiologists say that aiming for herd immunity may not be viable, and that lockdowns, or at least partial lockdowns or movement restrictions, might be the answer instead. So if anything, these studies like these help answer questions about government policy, how to tackle this thing, and to what extent should you go on lockdown versus just letting things go and trying to be normal.
Exactly. Well, there have been very few confirmed cases of people getting reinfected with COVID-19 twice. Researchers warn that this may be due to immunity only just starting to fade into since the peak infection rates of March and April. And the hope is the second infection will be milder than the first, even if immunity does decline, as the body should have an immune memory of the first encounter and know how to fight it back. Luckily, the first time, or the only time I had COVID-19, it was a very, hopefully, fingers crossed.
The only one.
It was asymptomatic. I had no symptoms at all. I did not lose my sense of taste, smell, anything. No fatigue, no body ache, no fever, and nothing. Literally, I had 14 days of being in my room. And it also reminded me never break any law, because being in prison is never cool, and it really wasn't. Even if it was in my own room, I did not enjoy it at all. So that's what it is. And this sort of shows that I can't put my guard down now, because mentally you come across this thinking, okay, I'll wear my mask, I'll do social distancing, but I'll still be out and about now. I'll feel a little bit more confident that my body knows how to fight this virus, and I've been infected once, I got through it, and I can't get it infected again. That thinking is wrong. So I have to be, and most asymptomatic cases who've now gotten rid of the virus have to still remain vigilant and be mindful of what they're doing, and frequently washing hands, staying away from large gatherings, and staying away from potential exposure zones.
But this study also showed, it's very important to highlight this point, that the older people had a larger decrease in antibodies over time. More, I think the percentage in their findings was mainly reflecting on the older population. And those results may be explained by the fact that many older people have fewer lymphocytes, including the B lymphocytes needed for antibody protection. So
I think I'm a senior citizen stuck in a young man's body, to be honest. I just am, sadly. Well, stay with us on the Morning Majlis. We shall be continuing the discussions right here on Pulse 95. Up next, we're talking about Bolivia. And then we'll be back again talking about COVID-19. So stay with us. This is the Morning Majlis.
If you liked this episode of the Morning Majlis, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.
Pulse.